There is a name that heaven does not sing, a name that does not echo in worship, a name that even Michael the warrior who faced the dragon refuses to utter aloud. Not because it is cursed, not because it is evil, but because some truths are too profound, too unsettling for celestial memory. This is not a tale of light and glory, but of shadow and silence, a story of the angel God placed outside the boundaries of creation. An angel who stands sentinel facing a doorway no other dares approach. A doorway sealed before time breathed its first breath, a threshold to an era beyond comprehension. Every angel knows the portal exists, a dark star in the tapestry of heaven, yet they hasten past with averted eyes, as if even a glance might irrevocably alter their being. Only one remains steadfast, unblinking, unbroken. A sentinel whose existence is so weighty, so incomprehensible, that heaven itself seems hushed in his vicinity. His name is AKER, the angel who guards the last portal, the gate that remains unopened, the threshold even Michael circumvents. And here lies a question that will resonate long after this story concludes. If God placed his most resolute, most silent, most obedient angel at that door, what dwells behind it, that he deemed too perilous for heaven to behold? Before you delve into his story, contemplate this. Why would a perfect God create an angel destined for perpetual isolation? An angel who can neither rest nor stray from his post, who cannot fall but can never ascend. What form of burden can break an angel without ever laying a hand upon him? And why, after countless eons, does AKER remain vigilant, watching, waiting for an eventuality heaven fervently prays never comes to pass? Welcome to Bible Mysteries. If you are captivated by the hidden depths of Scripture, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and activate the bell icon so you never miss an episode of Bible Mysteries. While many narratives of heaven commence with radiant light, harmonious choirs, and glory almost beyond description, this one begins with a different element, a fear that transcends human comprehension. Not the fear of humankind, not trembling hands or racing heartbeats, but a primal fear so deeply ingrained that even angels hesitate to speak of it. For long before wars raged, before angels fell, before Lucifer even whispered rebellion, there existed within creation something that instilled dread within the heart of heaven. And about this silence reigns, not out of forgetfulness, but out of conscious choice. Should you inquire of Michael the warrior who confronted the serpent, the general who commands legions of fire, he would simply avert his gaze and declare, "Some doors were never meant to be opened." And he would depart swiftly, almost too swiftly, for a being who knows no other fear. However deep within heaven, beyond the rivers of living fire, beyond the courts of perpetual praise, beyond the gates that gleam like captured lightning, lies a region that angels actively shun. Not because it is shrouded in darkness, not because it is cursed, but because it emanates an aura of antiquity predating even heaven itself. A region where the very air shifts, where the fabric of creation thins, where reality feels precarious. And in that region stands a portal that neither glows nor hums, nor utters a single word. It merely waits, a doorway to a place so ancient that even the firstborn angels have no knowledge of its name. And before that portal, unmoving, unblinking, unchallenged for all eternity, stands a solitary angel. An angel who is excluded from the songs, the armies, the councils, from all things, save for the singular command that dictates his entire existence. AKER, the angel who never walks, only watches. Most angels traverse, explore, assist, and witness. They move with the swiftness of the wind, sing with the force of thunder, and burn with the brilliance of stars. AKER engages in none of these activities. He stands eternally without shifting, without resting, without questioning, at least not overtly. And this is precisely what unsettles the angels most. AKER does not appear to be a denizen of heaven. His presence is heavier, older, denser, as if he were crafted from a substance that has no counterpart elsewhere. He lacks the radiance of the others. He does not emanate warmth. He does not shine with the joy of creation. He seems to originate from a realm where joy has never existed. When other angels pass the portal, they maintain their gaze forward. Their steps quicken their wings, pressed tightly against their sides. But upon passing AKER, their eyes invariably lower, and not out of disrespect, but because looking at him feels akin to beholding a truth that was never intended for their understanding. This is the aspect that heaven strives to suppress. Upon AKER's initial placement at the portal, Michael approached him not out of pride, not out of asserting his authority, but simply out of a sense of duty. Michael addresses all things that require it. He is the inspector, the evaluator, the one who ventures where others hesitate. Yet upon reaching AKER, something occurred that had never before befallen the commander of heaven's armies. He halted. Something within AKER's gaze, unwavering, ancient, unblinking, made Michael realize, this angel does not answer to me. He answers to no one save the one. Michael opened his mouth to speak, but no sound emerged. Not for lack of words, but because a primal instinct within his spirit cautioned him, you stand before a boundary that you were not designed to cross. And Michael, heaven's most valiant warrior, stepped back not out of fear of AKER himself, but out of fear of that which God had ordained AKER to guard, the one angel who exists outside of classification. Even among angels there are outcasts, not the rebellious, not the sinful, but those whose purpose is too weighty for comprehension. AKER was never celebrated, never welcomed, never embraced. Some angels speculated whether he possessed emotions at all, or whether he had been crafted without them to endure a task that no ordinary angel could bear. For consider this, every angel knows joy. Every angel knows movement. Every angel knows connection. AKER knows none of these. He knows only the portal, its presence, its weight, its unceasing threat. And heaven knows one immutable truth: God does not position his strongest angel before an empty doorway. Something resides beyond that portal. Something ancient. Something powerful. Something perilous enough that even heaven fears the mere recollection of it. And AKER, the angel who never moves, has never diverted his gaze from it, not once, not in all of eternity. No one remembers the moment AKER was created, not because it was shrouded in secrecy, but because it bore no resemblance to anything heaven had ever witnessed. When God creates angels, heaven is usually aware of it. Light shifts, winds gather, the atmosphere trembles with a form of joyful electricity. The angels pause in their endeavors because they know that a new member of their celestial family has arrived. However, on the day AKER appeared, there was no celebration, no chorus, no tremor of excitement, nothing familiar. Instead, something else occurred. Something that caused the eldest angels to cease their activities and turn their gazes toward the farthest reaches of creation with an uneasiness they could not articulate. It was akin to a shadow forming within the light, not darkness itself. Darkness possesses a distinct feeling, a presence. This was different, as if God had folded a portion of himself that no one had ever seen, and then unfolded it into the form of an angel, AKER. He did not descend like a star. He did not rise like a sunrise. He simply was standing where no angel had stood before. And every angel who beheld him experienced the same peculiar sensation. He is not like us, not superior, not inferior, simply different, designed differently, bearing a burden that the others did not carry. Some angels attempted to approach him, but the closer they drew, the more their steps faltered, as if AKER's very existence compelled them to reevaluate their courage. He did not speak, did not introduce himself, did not move. He simply watched them with those eyes. Eyes that appeared to be older than the rest of creation. Gabriel, who could interpret the tone of heaven like a finely tuned instrument, remained silent afterward. He simply departed with his wings lowered, as though he had just come to the realization that there were aspects of God he would never fully comprehend. Even the younger angels whispered amongst themselves, "If he was created by the same God who created us, why does he feel like something else entirely?" Of course, that whisper never left the confines of heaven. Some truths die unspoken before they transform into sin. But the question lingered buried in the silence. Why did God create an angel who was so fundamentally different? AKER tried, if try is even the appropriate term. He stood near the places where angels congregated. He watched creation unfold. He observed the rivers of fire, the gardens that breathed life, the storm chariots that traversed the upper realms. However, regardless of where he stood, the angels stepped around him, not with disgust, not with hatred, but with that same unsettling feeling you experience when you stand too close to something you do not understand. AKER sensed it, even if he did not outwardly express it. Imagine existing among beings created for worship, joy, and purpose, and realizing that none of their songs have room for your name. Heaven is overflowing with beauty, boundless beauty. But for AKER, heaven became a place made of glass, a place you can see, but never truly touch. And the most challenging aspect was that he never complained, never questioned, never asked God, "Why did you make me this way?" Because deep within AKER, even before he knew his assignment, there was a premonition that his life was not like theirs. His existence was not meant to be comprehended by the angels around him. They were created to move. He was created to wait. They were born for communion. He was born for isolation. They were formed to witness creation. He was formed to stand before something older than creation. And then it transpired. The moment that explained everything, yet offered no solace. God called him, not through thunder, not through wind, not through burning light, simply a simple, undeniable truth that permeated AKER's spirit. Your place is not with them. Your place is with the portal. And in that instant, for the first and only time in his existence, AKER experienced something akin to pain. Not physical pain, the other kind. The kind that humans know so well, the kind that arises from the realization that your purpose will separate you from everyone else. AKER turned toward the edge of creation, toward the place heaven avoids, and he walked not slowly, not reluctantly, but inevitably. Each step confirmed what he already sensed. He was not created to belong. He was created to stand where no one else could. And when he reached the portal for the first time, his entire existence locked into place. No angel heard it, but something within AKER clicked. a spiritual weight settling, a divine puzzle piece snapping into its rightful position. This was his life. This was his eternity. This was why he looked different, why he felt different, why he never fit in. He wasn't built for heaven. He was built for the thing heaven doesn't talk about. And as he stood before the portal, he realized one final truth. He had never been alone. He had simply been waiting for the thing he was born to guard. AKER's first moment standing before the portal felt less like a beginning and more like stepping into a conversation that started before time itself. The portal did not glow. It did not pulse with power. It did not give off warmth or cold. It simply stood, a boundary composed of a reality that was alien to creation. And AKER felt something the other angels never felt. The sensation that the portal was not dormant. It was watching back. He did not flinch. He did not step away. If anything, standing before it made his existence feel finally justified. But heaven was not prepared for the sight of the wrong angel finding the right place. News spread rapidly among the celestial host. AKER stands at the border. AKER has reached the silent threshold. AKER is not turning back. Some angels came merely to verify the truth of the rumors. They arrived in pairs or small groups, hovering far behind him, as if afraid to be close to the place where creation thinned out. They never spoke. They never approached. They only watched AKER, a figure carved from something heavier than light, who never once averted his gaze from the portal. And eventually, the one angel who could no longer disregard the situation stepped forward. Michael. Michael's arrival reverberated with honor. He walked with authority and with the certainty of one who has never known fear. The angels parted before him, relieved that someone of sufficient strength was finally present to assess the situation. Michael approached slowly each step, echoing years of battles, victories, and divine assignments. He had faced the dragon. He had stood between God and rebellion. He had held the line when Lucifer rose in fury. He had never turned his face from a threat. But the moment he reached the threshold where AKER stood, something happened that shocked the hosts. Michael stopped. It wasn't physical hesitation. It wasn't caution. It was something deeper. Something in his spirit recoiled, as if stepping any closer would draw him toward a place where even his authority held no sway. AKER didn't turn, didn't greet him, didn't acknowledge him. And that bothered Michael, not because of ego. Michael didn't operate on pride, but because every angel in heaven responds to him. Every angel, even the ones created for strange tasks, but not AKER. Michael tried to speak, prepared to deliver a warning or a command. But the moment he opened his mouth, a realization washed over him so profoundly that his voice caught in his throat. AKER was not under his command, not under his authority, not under any hierarchy he had ever known. Michael sensed it immediately, a faint imprint on AKER's existence, as if God himself had marked him with a command that no other angel was permitted to question. And then Michael felt something worse, something he hated feeling. AKER wasn't guarding the portal. He was anchored to it, bound to it, designed for it. Michael, the greatest warrior in creation, the angel who stands between heaven and danger, took one quiet step backward. The hosts watching from a distance noticed this tiny movement, a movement so subtle it should have been insignificant. And yet, it rippled through heaven like a tremor of unspoken terror. If Michael retreated from something, that thing was not merely dangerous, it was catastrophic. And Michael knew it. He didn't leave. He stood there beside AKER in silence for a while, attempting to sense whatever AKER sensed. He felt nothing. That made it worse. Michael, for the first time in his existence, was standing next to something he could not measure, could not categorize, could not prepare for. He finally spoke, his voice low, steady but lacking the confidence heaven expected from him. "AKER, what stands behind this?" AKER didn't turn, didn't blink, didn't move, but he answered, and his voice was unlike any angelic tone, deep, still, shaped by something that did not originate from heaven, something older than the light we were born from. Michael stiffened. It was the closest thing angels had to flinching. Older than the light, older than creation, only one being existed before light. But if God needed a guardian for something older than light, Michael's mind tightened around a truth he did not want to claim. What did God put behind this gate? AKER's response was simple, and yet it froze Michael's spirit. Not what, who. Michael didn't ask again. He couldn't. There are questions angels are not built to survive. The host watching felt it, a shift in the atmosphere, a panic that no one dared voice. They no longer feared the portal itself. They feared AKER's unwavering calmness in the face of it. Because if an angel who felt nothing, moved for nothing, and lived for nothing except guarding this boundary, stood here without trembling, then whatever was behind that portal was something heaven could never confront. Michael departed quietly, not defeated, not ashamed, but deeply troubled. He didn't share what he had heard with the others. He didn't report anything to the councils. He didn't even seek solace in prayer, because Michael knew one thing: God doesn't station his most peculiar, most powerful, most isolated angel before a mystery, unless heaven is not meant to survive the truth. And from that day forward, no one ever questioned AKER again. They simply pretended that the portal didn't exist. But AKER knew better. Things that ancient do not remain dormant forever. Let me offer a warning before we embark on this chapter. This is where the story ceases to be merely mysterious and becomes truly perilous, because this is the moment when heaven itself was profoundly shaken. You've heard of battles in Scripture. You've heard of angels rising, falling, fighting, and worshiping. But you've likely never imagined this, a moment when every angel in heaven froze, not because of rebellion, not because of sin, not because of fear of God, but because something arrived that should not exist. Something ancient, something predating the languages of heaven, something bearing the scent of a world that heaven had buried so deeply that even the angels were not meant to remember it. And on that day, AKER stood alone, because no one, not even Michael, stepped forward. Not even a little. And here is how it happened. Imagine heaven in its perfect order, choirs singing, wings rushing like rivers, angels executing their assignments with purpose and clarity. Nothing is ever out of place until suddenly everything decelerates. Not time itself. Heaven doesn't function in that way. But the angels feel something. A shift. A spiritual pressure that sweeps across eternity like a distant storm that no one wants to see approaching. A ripple that makes the mighty hesitate, that causes the wise to cease speaking, that makes the brave turn their heads instead of moving forward. Something unseen, unfelt, unheard, but undeniably present. The first to react is Raphael. He straightens, hand on his chest, brows furrowed. The second is Uriel. His light flickers momentarily, as if disturbed by a presence that is out of place. The third is Michael. And when Michael pauses mid-stride, Every lesser angel panics inwardly because Michael does not freeze. Not in war, not in peace, not in uncertainty. But here Michael's eyes sharpen and he turns slowly as if attempting to recall something he once knew but was never meant to revisit. He doesn't draw his sword. He doesn't speak. He simply waits. That's when you know that something truly significant is unfolding. A silence heavier than any battle spread across heaven. This was not the stillness of worship or the calm after victory. It was the silence of recognition. Something had shifted, something long sealed by divine design. Not through rebellion, not through force, but through permission. Michael's hand tightened not around his sword, but around certainty itself. Whatever had arrived did not feel like an enemy, and that was what unsettled him most. Enemies announce themselves. They disrupt. They clash. This presence did none of that. It simply existed, ancient, authorized, and inevitable. At the far edge of creation, AKER remained unmoving. He did not brace. He did not react. He stood as he always had, watching the portal with unwavering focus. And in that stillness, heaven understood a terrifying truth. This moment was not testing heaven's strength, but its understanding. Something God had hidden was beginning to stir, not to escape, but to be acknowledged. The angels felt it instinctively. Whatever lay beyond the gate was bound to origin, not chaos, to purpose, not destruction. And that realization shook heaven more deeply than war ever could, because it suggested that creation's story was unfinished, and that some truths had been buried, not erased. Michael finally exhaled, his voice low and measured. Hold. It was not a command to armies, but to heaven itself. And heaven obeyed. Because when God allows the ancient to move, even angels must wait. And this is where the story truly begins. If this moment stirred something within you, if you felt the weight of mystery and the tension of what even heaven avoids, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Like this video to support deeper explorations into Scripture's hidden layers. Comment below with your thoughts. What do you believe lies beyond the final gate? Follow and subscribe to the Bible Mysteries so you don't miss the next chapter where silence breaks and forgotten truths begin to surface. Some mysteries are hidden for a reason, and some are revealed only to those willing to listen.